So how did YouTube star Rosanna Pansino go from an aspiring actress all the way to the baking queen of YouTube, making millions a year? The simple answer, YouTube Secrets by Cannell and Benji Travis. Welcome back everybody to Biz Gorilla. I'm your host, Jason Catalano, call sign Wildcat. And on this channel, we look to be your business book club that you can build your brand at a low to no cost, right? So a lot of tactics, strategies, dealing with the business world from the best business books. And for today, we have YouTube Secrets from Cannell and Benji Travis. So this book particularly is, I would say, for anyone who's looking to get started on YouTube or anyone who is looking to grow on YouTube, monetize on YouTube, just use YouTube as a creator's platform. This is gonna be a book you have to read. And with that, I would also say, what's it about? They talk about it in terms of strategy, tactics, and just everything having to do with growing on YouTube, how to create content for YouTube, a few examples and stories of people who went from nothing to how they're able to grow a really, really big following on YouTube. And I think where we see this, of course, for Sean himself, think media and video influencers, which he's a founding member of. You've seen their growth just absolutely skyrocket the last couple of years. They're doing interviews for all the top named YouTubers, Casey Neistat. They've done it with Gary Vee. They've done it with all of them. And I think so. We see that they've actually implemented these in real life, and they really are the go-to source if you're looking in terms of a business doing content creation. And if you really want to do video, you're going to put things on YouTube, this is the place to go in order to get better traction, in order to get more results. So the big idea for this book that I would boil it down to is that in general, we all like to do business with people that we know, we like, we trust, and video is the best form for this, okay? So a great example of this that I look at in the real world would actually be Sun Food in terms of what not to do. I was actually looking at superfoods, and I was looking at how to input them into my smoothies every morning, trying to get more nutritious and just trying to overall live a little better lifestyle, especially out of being in the military. Sometimes your structure kind of goes down a little bit. And I went on YouTube and I was looking for guys like Rob Wolf, and I was looking up just a whole bunch of superfood smoothies or nutritious smoothies, and Sun Food was nowhere to be found. And then I finally was able to pull up their channel. It's less than 1,000 followers. It's a channel that, quite frankly, doesn't have many videos. They don't really explain the superfoods. There's just no content there. They missed a golden opportunity. I ended up going with Julie Morris because she's got books on it. She's got a little bit better of a YouTube presence. I ended up buying her superfood smoothies and going from there. And I started buying from, I think it's Navita's, her superfood actual raw materials. Bought from her company. And it's because she had a better engagement. There's a face there, she was talking to me, she was showing me how to make smoothies. It was a clear example of how you can use video to gain sales. And Sun Food's a great company, but I think they're missing the mark here. And I think that they're leaving the door open for a lot of other competitors. So the big idea, definitely that video is a great way to connect with people and to gain trust. Okay, so the first point has to do with strategy, and it has to do with the idea of courage, right? Courage and clarity in your channel. And what I liked about what Sean talks about in these two chapters is that the courage to start a channel, to be a niche expert, to take up that responsibility, that you're going to build a channel over a long period of time, put a lot of sweat equity in. It takes a lot of courage to do that. Most people don't want to get in front of a camera. Most people don't want to see the warts and all. And it's something that only a few people will rise to the occasion. So if you really are serious about YouTube, he just talks about in that section that you're not alone, that everyone started at 0 subscribers and that they had to build their way up. And that, yes, it will take a lot of courage, especially in the early parts, because a lot of times you're gonna get bad commentary, a lot of times you're gonna get people who don't believe in your vision, and that's perfectly fine. He's saying that in terms of your channel, it might actually be better if people don't really like your opinion, because they'll comment down below and they'll give you more engagement. And then he's just talking about clarity, and having a channel and a YouTube that clearly can tell people what problem or what passion you're all about. So for instance, on this channel, we're all about being a business book club, right? Okay, that doesn't really mean much for you, right? Business book club, yada do. Like I can go to business school for that, or I can go watch Jason Capital videos or something. But as a business book club, we say, no, it's about, we want to help build your brand at lower to no cost. Whether it's a marketing campaign, whether it's on social media, whether it's really good business tactics. The great thing about, I think, business books is that you can get some of the best knowledge so that you can then go develop your skills and channel that energy so that really at a lower to no cost, you can really increase your business, increase your productivity. And bottom line is you increase your profitability while you're also increasing your freedom. Hopefully your business is leading towards more freedom and not being chained to your business. But I really liked how he talks about clarity in that you have to really know who you're serving. You really have to know what your core message to them is. You can't be about everything to everybody, especially on YouTube. There's too much competition. Next, he talks about your channel, your content, and then your community. And what I really liked about the channel part was just, it's pretty basic. It's the house, right? You think about your channel as, okay, when someone first lands, right? The goldfish rule, you got 9 seconds. You got 9 seconds to hook them into your channel so that they not only know what you're about, but what are they getting out of your channel, right? And he just talks about, okay, how do you set up your playlist? How do you set up your About You page, which is really about them? What are they getting out of your channel? And right up front, you want to be able to tell them, what is it that they're gonna get if they subscribe to you and they follow you? How's their life gonna be better? You got 9 seconds. And so he's just saying that you gotta be very, very clean, and you gotta really give off a very specific vibe to your channel. Otherwise, people are gonna find a different, better source. For content, I actually really like how Sean breaks it down in terms of, on any channel, you can really break it down into evergreen content that can be searched for years and years and years. That's easier said than done. That's why he says there's really 5 main areas, and he talks about being news, information related, right? Obviously, people are searching for that. Current times, it might be, how do you trade on Robinhood? How do you use Acorns? How do you use social media for marketing? Things like that are very, what are the news going on there, right? And then obviously, he talks about entertainment, right? If you can make people laugh, or you can bring them into drama, or something along those two. He's just saying that's going to obviously be able to hook and retain people. But you also have to be able to teach people things. I like the educational part a little better. I think YouTube University is a really good place that you can teach people new things, or that you can really just engage with a community that he talks about on very, very specific subject matters that you can't really get anywhere else, right? Even blogs, I don't think it's the same as video format. I don't think it's the same interaction. And so he's just talking about, in terms of your content, just don't forget that you want to entertain people, you want to educate, give them some news around a very specific industry or a very specific topic. And then the other thing I really liked is that he was talking about community. Build the community, get people better, upgrade the users, right? I thought that was really, really insightful from him, that you also want to think of your channel as its own unique community of people that truly believe in whatever your message or cause is. Another thing with the community that I really liked was Jason Capital actually talks about this a little bit, and that is you convert through conversation now. It's pretty incredible that you can actually do DMs on Instagram, that you can email people, that you can reach people so instantaneously and quickly, that all your content, everything on YouTube, it's just to get to the point where people want to conversate with you. And I think a lot of people in business forget, they want to get an automated sales process. They want to get everything, just put one person here and then they go through the process and then boom, sale. And I think what even guys like Jason Capital or Ty Lopez, Gary Vee, they're like, no man, sales is all through the conversation, the back and forth, the one-on-one, right? Big businesses don't do that. You gotta be able to connect through a conversation. That's how you're gonna convert, quite frankly, because you can tell someone specifically why you are the best for them as an individual. That's not always the case with big businesses. Big business, a lot of times it's standard from the box. You get what you get. There's no negotiation, there's no conversation. Okay, so the last strategies have to do with cash and consistency, and cash just basically means how you're gonna monetize your channel, how you're gonna get cash coming in. It's obviously a big reason why a lot of people get on YouTube. It's a big reason why people want passive income. It's a big buzzword now. But when I think about monetization, I always think about giving 10x more value than eventually what I'll get in. And that means you better give a whole hell of a lot if you're trying to actually make a little money off YouTube. But he just talks about the standard forms that you're gonna make money off of, things like affiliate, income, for instance, Amazon down below. You buy from there, I get a commission on it with no extra cost to you, right? Well, obviously that's a great way to monetize. AdSense, specifically through YouTube, you can just turn the little button on, you see some ad up here, boom. I make, small little change on it, not a big deal. Talks about sponsorships. If you can reach out to other brands, they want micro influencers right now. In fact, I think that's gonna be a big part the next few years because they're cheap. Micro influencers, you can pay someone 10, 15, 20 bucks and they'll give you a little bit of a shout out. Well, that's gonna be a lot lower than what you pay if you had to go on CNN or if you had to go on one of the major radio stations or news stations or anything like that. So, you can definitely get sponsorship opportunities, and then clearly you can sell your own products. Drop shipping, Amazon FBA, these are great places. You can, create your own product on Etsy, sell on eBay. So many great areas you can sell off of YouTube, and you use YouTube as your primary source to, once again, tell the news, entertain a little bit, right, which draws a connection. You can educate, upgrading the user, and you can really build a community where people feel connected. And that's just something you can't do in a normal retail sense. And then he also talks about consistency, just having to do with being able to hustle. I just think from a strategy perspective, all consistency means is, are you bringing not necessarily the same video formats or anything like that, but are you bringing energy every single time you go in front of the camera? Are you bringing value every time you step in front of the camera? Are you consistently bringing, and I hate using the word value, but are you consistently making someone's life better every time they put on your video, right? And like I said, there's all those different forms of content that you can really try and tap into. But I think from a strategy perspective is, are you being consistent with the customer? I think it's a great way to look at it. Consistent with the customer. Are you bringing it every single time? Okay, so the next section has to do with tactics, YouTube tactics. And he really first talks about social media and discoverability. Now, why are these two so important in terms of the tactics? Well, social media is the gasoline, right, as your content's the fire. So your content on YouTube is going to be the fire, but you got to be able to spread the message. You got to be able to spread it out. And he's just talking about you really want to master YouTube itself, but he says you need two different platforms. I would say just start with one, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, things like TikTok, Snapchat. Definitely, LinkedIn's an underrated one. Pinterest, things like that. Try and really focus on that in terms of spreading what you're doing on YouTube, as YouTube's your primary place where you're talking with you're engaging. Social media can be a great place to really spread the message. And I just really like how he talks about Benji's wife, Judy, how she said upwards of over 70% of her time in terms of YouTube videos was actually in social media, just creating posts, answering people, answering the community within social media. And that actually drove people back to her YouTube channel where they would actually see her giving all these different like makeup tutorials and stuff. And it really kind of gets you thinking like, okay, so YouTube, you can have the greatest content in the world, but what does it really matter if people aren't going to discover you? People can't discover you. And social media, I think, is one of the best ways, not necessarily to give the most value, because I think the videos are where you deliver the value, but it can definitely spread the message to where you're going to get discovered at a much higher rate. They also talk about in terms of discovery, the biggest thing I took out of it was just utilizing the SEO, the search bar in YouTube, and just putting things like underscore, whatever word you want, and then YouTube's going to populate to you what the most searched items is. Or putting, let's say for us on marketing, you just put marketing and then space A, and it's going to tell you all the number one searches for marketing and then whatever starts with A. And you just list all these out in an Excel file, and you use that in terms of your titles or things in your description and topics, right? Those are going to be all the things that you do that are going to get you discovered, because that's what people are searching for, right? And you obviously want to be able to utilize those as much as possible within your videos so that those videos get, once again, a higher level of discovery. And that was kind of the best takeaway from that chapter that I took. Okay, so next up is trends and tent poles. So the idea between both of them is that trends are something that's very current, right? So for instance, right here, right now, June 2020, it's coronavirus and Black Lives Matters and police brutality, the election coming up. Those are all trending topics because obviously a year from now, the election 2020, who cares? But right here, right now, people are searching for it. So that's a trend. Versus a tentpole, which is something that usually consistently every year, you can anticipate and say there's going to be a higher level of activity. So the way that Sean talks about it is, if this is a graph, maybe you have January over here, December all the way over here, and let's say you have October over here. All he's saying is that for Halloween, you're gonna see probably something like this, nothing, 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 and as we get close to October, boom. After October, goes back down, and we're back at to normal levels, right? This right here is your tent pole, okay? And so I really like that when he's talking about content, being able to look at content and certain topics within your niche and say, okay, where are the tent poles? Or what even topics have a tent pole for certain times of the year? And how can I create topics for here, right in this area right here, right? So if I post it up here, now all of a sudden it's gonna get a few views. Then once all of a sudden we get back into this area when people are really searching for it, you already have a certain amount of engagement, you already have a certain amount of views. YouTube is already going to rank you higher so that you're going to catch this one quick wave. And that's a great way in terms of, as a tactical perspective, how to get more viewers, how to get more subscribers. It's trying to catch those tent poles. Okay, so next is, in terms of tactics, is collaborations. And I would actually say this is the most important part of the entire book, because if there's going to be one area where you're going to grow as a channel, it's going to be collaborations. There's no doubt about it that SEO is great. It can get you a little bit up front and early, but man, if you understand how collaborations work, you're going to get access to audiences larger than you, with the person who is going to be the most trusted for that audience already giving you the gateway, the green light. And really the key things in terms of collaborations is, when you think win-win, what I always like to think is, why would somebody who has a bigger following than me want me on their channel? Why would they want me to write a piece for their blog? Why would they want me to write for their magazine? What is the one thing that they're going to tell their audience? You're getting a tremendous amount of value, and that you are going to get this one thing solved in your life. A great example of that is, let's say you have a cooking channel, something like that. What if you specialized in sauces? Maybe you only have 1,000 followers, right? You only have 1,000 followers on your channel, and that you go up to someone who's got 150,000 followers. That person with 150,000 followers, they're gonna look at you with 1,000, they're gonna be like, okay, yeah, big deal. But they notice, you got a lot of things on sauces, and you're probably pretty much an expert at that. And so what they can do is they can do a collaboration with you and say, okay, we know you're not big, we know you don't have a following for me, but this is gonna be good for my audience. I can tell them that you're a sauce expert, and I'm gonna be giving them some of the best sauces for steaks or for chicken or for things like that. So for their audience, they're getting a new, fresh take from an expert. That's perfect, right? For their audience, that's perfect. And for you, you're gonna get exposure to a much larger audience. Okay, so what this means is that if you really wanna get collaboration early on, you have to specialize in something that's gonna be of value and something that you can be an expert in. So this is why I always say, like, your first few videos, if it's all on like these sauces, sauce, it's easier for someone who's higher up than you to look at your channel and just go, oh, this is the sauce guy. They'll bring you in, they'll say, oh, we're gonna make a great steak, and here's the perfect sauce for it, okay? And this is the easiest way to get collaborations early on, because all these channels are looking for are experts and specialists and people that, at a very, very low level, or not, but a very, very narrow focus on something. And then they just look for those narrow focuses all throughout YouTube. And so they're not gonna care as much about your following as long as you're an expert and you know what you're talking about. So that's why early on, you really, really, really wanna focus on specializing especially it makes it a lot easier to do collaborations, and that's going to give you the exposure needed to really take off on YouTube. Okay, lastly, different is better than better. And the best way to sum this up is in Seth Godin's Purple Cow. Most products are commodities. Most things nowadays are the same thing. I mean, tell the average person the difference between Toyota, Ford, and GM. Who cares? But Tesla's different. Now, is it better per se? I mean, I'm not a car expert. I don't know. Sure as hell it's different, and people like different. It's easy for us to pick it out of the crowd. It's easy for us to really embrace it. It's easy for us to say, well, we know the best is different than all the better, so it's gotta be something, right? And so I always like that purple cow analogy of, driving down the road and you see the purple cow versus all the black and white or brown cows, and it's like, I don't know about you, but that's cool. And it catches your eye, and you go, that's something that's worthwhile, and that's something worth telling people about. And so I always think about YouTube, and I think, I think about being unique as a purple cow. I think about being useful, and I always think about, am I being understood? Is it clearly and concisely put whatever my message is so that people don't have to think too much about it, right? David Ogilvy talks about this a lot in his books, that if you treat your customer like a busy mom, not necessarily, I hate it when people say, do copywriting and all that for like a fifth grader or third grade level. I think it's very demeaning. I think it's easier to say, imagine that they're a busy mom, that they have all these responsibilities, all this stuff swirling around their head, and that whatever the hell it is you're trying to sell probably doesn't matter to them. So how do you put something in a very clear and concise way that respects their time and respects them, in that you're not having them having to think too much because they don't have the energy for it. So I always just think, my customer's a busy mom. How do I get her to understand what I'm saying so that she clearly understands the value to her? And that's the way I like to think about YouTube, is how do I get a message to be understood? Well, and this is where we go when we talk about, slogans and certain clear and concise frameworks in terms of, here's a message. This is our unique selling proposition. For this channel, we always like to say that it's about business books, but it's really about building your brand in a lower cost fashion, right? And I think marketing a lot of times nowadays is about building the brand. So even guerrilla marketing, it's mostly about building the brand, okay? And with that, the last part is, I like to think about difference better than better, and different takes a long time. Greatness takes a while. Rome wasn't built in a day. And so I like to think about this as, it takes time to build on greatness. So Tony Robbins, obviously one of the best, has already said it, that we vastly overestimate what we can do in 1 year, but we totally underestimate what we can do in 10. And I think that's completely true, especially with YouTube. It's gonna take a while for you to build the channel. It's gonna take for you a while to build it up, to be able to make money. But once you do, it starts raining, baby. It starts raining. And I love that. I love that quote, just because it does take a while, but once it does, it hits. All right, everyone, so that's the book summary of YouTube Secrets over here. Sean Cannell, Benji Travis. For you guys, think about what are your strategies, what are your tactics, and how you're gonna be different on YouTube. Comment down below how you're gonna utilize this book in your own YouTube channel or in your own content marketing. And go ahead and click that subscribe button if you wanna get more of the best business book summaries, best business book advice for free. It's the best channel for it. So with that, this is Jason Catalano signing off.